Hello and welcome developers. My name is Shay and this is another episode of Shay Develops. Today we're going to be talking about Varargs in Java, and that's the ability to write a method that will take an basically an infinite number of a particular data type. Now there are a few rules to keep in mind when using Varargs, and I'm going to go ahead and paste them to the screen now so you guys have look at that. So the first thing to consider is the varargs must be the last parameter in a method. They can also accept no values and still be considered correct and will compile. There can only be one varargs parameter per method, and you have to also be careful when using these, because if you're overloading your other methods, the method signature, as far as the JVM concerned, could be a bit confusing. And I'm going to show you guys some examples of this here shortly. But first, let's go ahead and write a method that uses varargs and show you guys the syntax of it. It's actually pretty simple. And let's go ahead and get started. So for starters, I'm going to write a public static int, and I'm going to write a method that sums the numbers that's passed. So in order to the syntax for varargs is actually, like I said, pretty simple. We just want to make it the data type of the values that we're passing into it. So if we wanted to pass in an integer, one integer, that's how we would pass it in, just int I. But we don't actually want to do just int I. We want to add an ellipses after the int, which is just 3 dots. Now that is the varargs syntax there. And that means we can pass as many integer values into this method whenever we call it in our main method as we want to sum up. So this is really beneficial if you know the user is going to be entering in, like I said, an unknown amount of whatever it is that you're going to be that you're expecting of the data type, but you just don't know how many. So let's go ahead and finish writing out this sum numbers method. So int sum equals 0. So we can do 4, and now the I, our integer that we're bringing in, that we called I, is going to work a lot like basically work just like an array. So we can use I.length to get the length of how many characters have been imported into, or how many integers or whatever it is, data type, have been imported into this method. And then now we can do sum plus equals I, and then brackets j, and that means 0 starting with the first one all the way to j minus 1 being the very last one. Because if you're familiar with arrays, you know that the index starts at 0, not at 1, and then goes to the final number, which is j minus 1. All right, and then all we have to do now is just return sum, and that should be working great. So now we can just do sum numbers, and we could just put none. Let's actually just output this to the screen here, or to our command line, and run this. So remember, varargs can also accept no values and still be good to go. So we'll go ahead and let this build. There we go. So now we have a value here of 0 because we set sum to 0. It has a length of 0, so it's ran through this 0 times and just returns 0. All right, so now we want to write, or well, actually, let's go ahead and change this and just add in all kinds of numbers here. See, it doesn't matter how many that I put in. it's still going to work. So now we're at 1467. But if I was to remove these 3 ellipses right here, now we have an issue with our function, and it won't allow me to enter in as many as I want to. But if I just came and just erased all of that, besides this error right here, don't worry about that one, but see, we're back to good again. So I'm just going to go ahead and undo those, and now that's working again as it should be. Now let's go ahead and write another method that just prints some names. Alright, and so again, we'll just do the for, and then we'll do names.length. And then now here, we can just output names just like we did in the other one. And since this is a void, we don't have to return anything. We do print names, Shay, Chris, Kendra, Tammy, and it should print all those names for us. And there it does. Shay, Chris, Kendra, Tammy. After we ran that. So let's go back to our rules here. So if we haven't talked about that quite yet, Joe. We have talked about as far as it not being able to accept any values at all and still be fine. There can only be one Varargs parameter. So if I was to create another one, we're immediately getting an error here, and it doesn't like that. Let's go ahead and get rid of that. So just keep in mind that it can only be one, and it has to be the last parameter. So I could actually have int I here, and that's totally fine. And my let's make it k, so we're not getting an error there. And the varargs statement that I have right here is still going to work just the same, but now I just need to pass it an integer first, and then run that again, and we'll see here we're still getting the same thing: Shay, Chris, Kendra, and Tammy. Now the last thing I want to talk about is overloading methods, and if you're not familiar with overloading methods, I have a video on that, but you don't have to go back and watch it. You should be able to understand it based off of what I say here. So overloading a method is basically creating another method that has the same name as another method, but the parameters that you're passing to it are going to be different, and because of that, it creates a new method signature. So let's show you that with some numbers. I'm going to come down here and I'm going to create another and if I just did int I, this would be the exact same method, and this is not method overloading. But if I was to change this to int k and then the varargs I with the integers, it's fine. This will actually work. Or it won't work in this particular situation because of something I'll show you guys here in a second. But that's fine as far as method overloading is concerned, because we've changed the method signature by having different parameters for our method rather than the same parameters. Just the thing is, it's got to be the same name, has to return the same value or same data type, that kind of stuff. But because the integer k and the varargs int I can get a little confusing, and it's called being ambiguous. So if you mouse over right here, it says ambiguous method call, both some numbers int I in main and some int I. So it's having an issue with these two right here, primarily because, and well, solely because, if I was to pass undo that. If I was to pass just one I, or just say I wanted to pass this k variable right here to the sum numbers, it could it could also be from the JVM. It could also think that, or it could also call this sum numbers method right there as well, just because those share that same data type that it's looking for as for its first parameter. So hopefully that you can look at that and make sense of why that would be an issue, and how that can be confusing to your JVM, your Java Virtual Machine, who's trying to compile this. But other than that, guys, though, that is it for Varargs. They're pretty basic. You just have, a few things to look out for, and they said they're powerful whenever you don't know how much of a particular data type that that the user is going to be sending back to you, and you need to do something with that, whether that's print some stuff out, do a summation, or some other interesting things that you guys see fit. All right, there, guys. Like I said, hopefully you guys learned something. Leave a comment, like, subscribe, hit me up in the comment section. Tell me, what it is that you guys are working on, how I can help you, and can't wait to see you guys in the next video. You guys have a great day, and I'll be making another one of these soon. Y'all take care. Peace.